Recently there was a book released by a gentleman called Mark Tanner called The Piano in Black and White. It's basically a book that helps people who maybe don't have teachers or access to a teacher to learn how to play the piano. So I wanted to just give it a quick overview and a review today. A quick overview of the book is that basically there's 12 what they call sessions in it, and each session has a tune that you'll learn how to play, something like this. Or something like this. And what it does is at the start of each session, it shows you the full piece, gives you all the fingering, and then what it does, it breaks it down into tiny bite-sized chunks that you can work on. Like for instance, you'll maybe learn how to play the tune on its own first before bringing in any left hand, and then you'll start maybe doing some introduction work, or a few bars in the middle, a few bars at the end, and then piece it all together. And he gives advice on each one of those sections. Each one of these sessions are not only broken down into how to play each one of the pieces, it introduces a new kind of technique, if you like. There's loads of them. We've got things like posture, which is obviously pretty important, hand position. He talks about finger numbers as well. It goes into pedaling, scales, articulation, arpeggios. There's a section on practice tips as well, which is really good. It talks about voicing, glissandos, and finger switching was another thing. And there's also some tips on reading as well. So it really does cover, a wealth of material. Other items which kind of pulls the book out from maybe what else is available on the shelf. There's some improvisation work in it, which is good. Mark basically goes into Mark, like he's my best mate. He goes into how to improvise, how to approach improvisation. He gives you some backing music and some ideas, and then what he does is he gives you wee sections that show you what notes are safe to play in each bar. So it just allows you can explore the material that you've learned and then try and just make up your own version of it, which is great. I always try and encourage that in everybody that I teach. The other thing he talks about is demystifiers, which are like wee tiny tips on reading music. So he might talk a wee bit about dynamics, or he might talk about pause signs. There's another section in it called Go Freestyle, which is really good actually. I think one of the things, maybe one of the highlights of the book for me. The problem is when you're learning how to read music and you have a teacher, quite often you feel as if you've got blinkers on and you have to play what's written. If you don't play what's written, then you're a bad man and you'll go to jail. But that's not the case. What he does is he starts to encourage you to maybe try things backwards. Try things a bit louder, try things with staccato, try and make up a wee bit yourself, like in the improvisation stuff. So it's pretty good the way it does that, and it just encourages you to extend those boundaries a wee bit beyond the dots on the page. One of the other things which I quite liked and found, I suppose it's informative, there's a piece in here called To a Wild Rose by a Mark McDowell, and according to his biographer, McDowell would often just write material, just write stuff, and then what he would do was crumple it up and throw it into the fire. And I tried to imagine how much good music's actually going, but fortunately To a Wild Rose, basically what happened was he wrote it out, he crumbled up, he threw it at the fire, and it bounced off the side and actually survived today, so it's can be enjoyed by everybody. Okay, there's a couple of things that as a teacher and a player, although I'm not at his level, but I don't think they're great. The first thing is, well, I think that the book should probably be spiral bound. If you're going to be working on material and reading a lot sitting at the piano, then having spiral bound books just makes it that wee bit easier. You get a wee bit more longevity out of the books, and the pages turn a bit easier, because with the spine, what happens is you have to fold it and push it and it breaks the spine, and eventually just pages start falling out, depending on how long you use it for. The other thing was, he doesn't really go into a great deal about reading, not as much as other method books, so if you're brand new to reading, the dots on the page could be a wee bit daunting. There is some stuff in there that looks pretty complicated, but you know, and if you were a reader, then you probably have a bit of a better time. Now, okay, the world doesn't stop spinning, and it doesn't all fall on Mark's shoulders to actually learn how to do that. But I just feel a wee bit more hand-holding at this stage that the book covers would have been a wee bit better for the reader. So another thing as well, there's a thing called finger Pilates in it, which kind of encourages individual finger movement. Now, generally the way I work is to try and have a lot more kind of arm and hand movement when I'm playing. I try to avoid big stretches. Obviously you can't, but you know, when there is a stretch, I try and return to that default position as quickly as I can. And if I'm playing one note, I don't play like this, you know, I'll play like this. So it's just, you know, mind you, if we all taught the same way, then the world would be a pretty boring place and we would have the same piano players all over the place. So yeah, you know, each their own sort of thing. The other thing is there's a couple of pictures in it as well, which his fingers are in really awkward positions and his wrists are like twisted quite severely. Now, again, this could be motion. Sometimes you can't avoid these things, but it's always good to return. But as a learner, I don't think you want to look at these pictures and think this is the way that I must do this and I must play like this. You know, you've got to understand that you know you should really be returning to your straight wrist position so that you can try and avoid any sort of stretching injuries or niggles. Okay, as I said, it is a new book, but if you've read it and tried it, then please let us know in the comments below. If you like the video, then please click the like button and you can subscribe to the channel for free to get notifications on future videos. Okay, let's summarise the book. So, the quality of the book is really good. You know, the cover is good, the page quality is, the paper quality even, sorry, is really good. You can download all the audio so that when you're learning how to play the pieces, you can kind of listen back and get that support that you need to make sure that you're getting it right. It's laid out really well, covers a whole bunch of concepts that you'll probably actually come back to. You know, it's one of these books that you could learn all the pieces and then at the end of it you might think, oh, I need some help, or what happened when I was learning about pedaling, or how to actually do a glissando because I didn't, you know, read that particularly well, or I've forgotten about it. So it is one of those, it's you know, not only a learning book but a reference book as well. Thanks very much for watching. The book is definitely one that I would recommend that you have on your shelf. You know, not only does it teach you a lot, it's got some great tunes in it as well. And hopefully I shall see you in a future video. Cheers.